Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to the show this week. Okay, this episode is inspired by a previous episode, the one that I did all about healthier travel tips. And today's episode came in right after that saying, can you do one on traveling with kids? How do you do that in a healthier way? / do you have any hacks? You seem to travel all the time. Like, what have you learned? I'm so happy to answer this question because you're right. Kyle and I have always loved to travel. And doing so with kids has been something that we definitely made a promise to each other that because it's something that we love doing, we're going to take our kids alongside it. And I know a lot of people feel differently about it. They say like, it's not worth it. It's so much work. It's never a vacation. You're just taking a trip because it's still a lot of work having your kids with you, even if it's just a different place. But to us, it is always so worth it. Like both of us are so willing to do a little bit of work. And really on the preparation or thinking ahead, like that's really where most of the work comes. But like putting in a little bit of grit, a little bit of time, a little bit of organization so that we get these amazing experiences with our kids. And really at the end of the day, for us, it's about just quality time, like being together as a family or with extended family. It's a quality time. It's time that you never get back. It's the one resource we can't replicate. And I think especially so when you have kids, you realize like how fast it goes. And so for us, traveling with our kids has always been a way that we get a little bit more of that deeper family time where it's a different place, kind of disconnects you from all of the chores and all of the to-dos and all of the things that like are around the house and house projects, all the things that we are constantly doing. It gives us a space to be instead of do. If you have kids, there's always things around the house with dishes and laundry and errands and chores. Getting a little bit of a break or a change in the schedule oftentimes opens up much more time and space and getting to do new things together. They've done so many studies on this. When you do things that are new and exciting and things you've never done, your brain becomes so much more present. And to me, that is always what it's been about, is that feeling of presence, of experiencing new things with them, of showing them different things in the world, different places or different languages, or exploring together and having adventures as a family is definitely a value that we have. And so we do it often. We do it as much as possible, and especially more so in the winter because we live in Seattle. We really plan our year around trips. But that means that traveling is something that we've had a lot of practice in. We'll just say that, like a lot of trials, errors, testing different things, ways to make it more efficient, ways to simplify it, ways to make it easier. And so I just wanted to share a few of those tips today. And granted, these are things that work for our family. Maybe test them out for yourself, see if it's something that would work for you. But they are things that we've picked up along the way of now it's been almost 7 years traveling with babies, young toddlers, starting to get into the stage of like older kids, which is obviously getting a little bit easier. I wanted to share things that have helped traveling with babies and then toddlers and young kids, because that is definitely the phases that we have been in. So I'm going to start first with babies because this actually came in as a question on Instagram of, I'm nervous to travel. What do we need to do? Are there any tips that you found that have been super helpful? And this is what I would say just overall with traveling with babies is to keep the same schedules as you normally do as much as possible. Knowing their wake windows, knowing around the times they normally take their naps, and then being prepared with things that make those things easier to continue on with your normal schedule, especially when it pertains to naps and napping on the go. That can be a very different thing depending on your child, depending on whether they do nap while on the go or they don't. But having a few different tricks up your sleeve, I think can really help. So one of the things that I always bring, specifically with babies, is toys and things for them to play with that's age appropriate. Things they can chew on, things they can suck on, things that maybe rattle or make some noise, things that keep them interested. And oftentimes I find it's not actually toys, it's random things like a spoon or a straw or things that I'm picking up at the coffee shop in the airport, or things in my bag that may have nothing to do with baby toys, but they find those so much more interesting. A pair of kids' sunglasses or, whatever it may be. So having my bag stocked with those things, of course, but specifically when it comes to sleep, I always bring a pacifier. I know there's so many different opinions on this, but all of my kids have used pacifiers and they have been such a helpful thing in our family as it pertains to sleep specifically. Like, we don't allow them to have pacifiers during the day or hanging out or playing around at home. They're not in their mouth. They're specifically a tool that we use almost as a way to condition sleep. The message of, okay, here you are, you're ready to go down. Here's your pacifier. It's something only in the crib, only in bed, or when you're on the go, when it's time for a nap. That's something we always bring. And we do that because it makes traveling easier. When they are on the go, they have these reminders and things telling their bodies that it's time, time to get the memo of it's time to go to sleep. So we do that, always travel with that. I always travel with a blanket. So probably one of their baby blankets, because not even necessarily for them, but sometimes airplanes, can be a little bit cooler, but I use it a lot of times for rolling it up and putting it under my elbow so that when I am breastfeeding them on the plane, when it's time to put them down for a nap, that's usually how I start, is feeding, and sometimes they'll just fall asleep for that. Or if not, then I have a place to prop my elbow in case they do fall asleep. Nothing is worse than holding and your neck and shoulders all cramped up and you're in this awkward position and needing to stay there for a while they sleep. So I always have a blanket. I always plan what I am wearing on the plane so that I have a way to nurse them easier. So it usually involves some type of sweatshirt or a short cropped sweatshirt or something that I can wear over the top. And then it's kind of covering me and can cover them at the same time. It's a very strategic outfit, that I wear in order to help them not only eat and then be able to fall asleep, but also having the blanket underneath. And then I always bring a light linen swaddle with me too. So we've got the blanket, the linen swaddle, and then my outfit is always something geared, thinking ahead of, okay, this is going to be a travel day. They're going to be on me a lot. So kind of covers a lot of different bases. We do have a tiny noise machine. And so with our first, Noah just required a lot more things to be able to go to sleep, whereas my girls have been much more relaxed and easier to sleep on the go, probably because they're the second and third child and they've had to learn how to do that from day one. But I have a sound machine I can link it below that is amazing. It is tiny. It's rechargeable. It goes for over 24 hours. So that's something I do bring as a backup in case, not even necessarily for the plane, but maybe we're walking around town or we're at the beach or someplace where there's other exterior noise that you just kind of mute a little bit in order for them to fall asleep. So I always have that in my bag as well. Other things that I always bring are extra wipes for sure and diapers. And I have disposable pads, like a diaper changing pad, because I am so grossed out by changing tables in public areas. I'm too much of a germ freak. So I have these disposable, they're almost like puppy pads that I lay down or can use on the seat, and always bringing extra wipes, because not only for diapers, but also wiping their hands. And if toys fall on the ground and other people are touching them, I always have an extra set of those when we are traveling. Also, the two things I think about are sleep and food. So whatever stage your baby is at for food, whether that's extra milk or it's formula, or if they're eating food, I always bring a bib on the plane for sure. And I'm thinking through snacks for them. Usually things like torn in half are pretty clean. Think banana, doing puffs. It's hard for me sometimes to think about, okay, what are the clean foods that are not super messy instead of what's the most nutrient dense, healthy food for them. But I don't do pouches often, but when we travel on the plane or we're going out to dinner, I always do have a couple of pouches. Like, I love the brand Serenity Kids. They do amazing pouches that are made with real food, protein and healthy fat, not just fruit pouches. Those are just pure sugar and does not help their taste buds develop to want to eat more than just fruit. And they also have vegetable pouches, which they also include a healthy oil or a healthy fat in them, which I appreciate. Helps with their blood sugar It's not just pure veggie, pure fruit. So having some of those in my bag for the trip. And then I'm doing puffs that are, again, same thing, like real food, simple ingredients, nutrient dense. And I'll share some of these in the notes below, like the different brands. Once Upon a Farm is one, and Serenity Kids are the two brands I usually go to for on the go baby food. With that being said, again, trying to keep to somewhat of their normal schedule. We always bring a baby carrier, like a baby Bjorn, a little front pack that, depending on the kid and what works for you, like walking them up and down the aisle, and that can be helpful. It's also helpful just hands-free when you're boarding the plane, strollers being checked. It can be a helpful thing, although most airlines do not let you take off or land with the baby in the baby carrier, which is so annoying. And I don't really know why that's the case, but planning that ahead, the baby's about to fall asleep. So if I can time it somewhat so that we get on the plane and then I'm feeding the baby, going up in the air to help with their ears, and then coming down. That doesn't always work. And every baby is a little bit different in terms of what they need for their ears. But if the timing works out, that's a great way to do it. So I try to keep them busy when we're boarding, or letting everybody go on the plane first and then coming on with the baby last can also be a strategy if you don't need the overhead storage bins. To do that kind of buys you a little bit more time where they can be wiggling and walking around and not having to sit still. The last thing I'll say is having some sort of stroller system, stroller car seat, where you can have a seat and the car seat in one, a stroller that has a big basket underneath. I find so helpful just getting through the airport with a big family. We want to put the other kids' backpacks there and my carry-on bag underneath. Just having your hands free, I think, helps so much. And then one last thing that's more so not for the travel day, but when we get to the place that we're going, is that I always pack 2 sleep sacks, 2 crib sheets, and we always travel with a slumberpod or some type of cover for the pack and play. So I do the crib sheets and the sleep sacks because you never know, you might have a blowout, could be throwing up, but you just never know what's going to happen. And so a lot of places don't have washing machines. So I just always make it a habit to pack 2 sets of those things. And then the slumber pod is like a tent that goes over the pack and play. We've had it for all 3 of our kids. And because we travel so much, it makes it so much easier to put the baby down according to their schedule. And even if you're all in the same room, they kind of have their own area where they can't see you. But it also helps the baby, because to the baby, no matter where you travel, if they're in a closet, if they're in the bathroom, shoving that pack and play anywhere it will go, that it looks the same to them, so that they are actually very comforted by it, and it's cozy and it's quiet and dark in there. It's been one of the best things we've ever bought. This past trip that we took like a couple weeks ago just with Rosie, and we took her to New York City because we were on the East Coast for a wedding, and we forgot the poles that go to the slumber pod. Can be a little bit of a production, like getting that thing set up, but we've done it so many times now that it's not a big deal, but we forgot it. And anyways, I had to order on Amazon, quick delivery. We had to go one night without it. I can link this too. It's like a blackout shade almost for the pack and play. Better probably for younger babies that are not standing up a ton, but at least covers the sides. And then there's a zipper on top that you can keep open or closed. And again, just for their quality of sleep as you're traveling, there's nothing more important than sleep for everybody. So doing what we can to like provide that environment for them and for us to be able to like walk around the room or go to the bathroom or whatever we need to do quietly, but at least the visual cue, they're not seeing us walk around, and that keeps them up wondering what's going on or wanting to hang and party. So those are things that traveling with babies overall, I find so helpful. The other thing that I always bring is their water cup. So whatever they are using for a water cup, we travel with that during the day, like the Munchkin 360 cups, or maybe it's just a stainless steel cup or whatever type of bottle they're using, like making sure you have that with you. And then also when you're on the go, I also have this mat that it's not perfect because the suction doesn't really work very well, but it's almost like a placemat that suctions on to most tables that has an edge corner, because when they get to the age of chewing or eating, and you're going out to eat, first of all, the table's probably really dirty, and that's okay. But having a place that can almost contain their messes, or if they bite or chew on the end of the table, that has also been a super helpful thing to bring, even on the airplane, to put it on the airplane tray. So just a few quick, easy tips that I have found and products I've discovered along the way that just makes traveling a little bit more smooth. Again, prioritizing their food and their sleep, keeping to the normal schedule. That's what we do. Okay, moving on to things that help with a little bit older kids. So in the toddler era or the younger kids, because that's where we are. One of the best things that we have purchased for our kids have been yoto audio players. I can link them below. They were the Christmas present that we got. They have cards that play audio stories, and they have so many different types of stories. You pay for the cards, so you pick the stories that they want, but it's something that works without Wi-Fi and there's no screen. And they can plug their headphones in, and it's this little small device that they're in charge of putting the cards in. So they don't need a lot. They don't need an iPad. They don't need it to be on Wi-Fi. They are in control of it, and it's small. It's easy to pack. It's so great for traveling. So they now each have their own and they have their own cards. We got them a little wallet. So that's so ideal for sometimes when we're in the car or we're going from home to the airport, and let's say it's a really early morning or it's late at night. It gives them something I think that is soothing for their brains without being on screens all day during a travel day. We do screens, as I'm about to share, but when we get to our destination, it's a great thing for them to have for quiet time, or for sitting by the pool, or we just want their bodies and their nervous systems to rest a little bit. Audio stories that they get to pick has been such a great help. And obviously at home too, but these are things that we always take traveling, and we always bring their headphones, obviously. And then we have a couple of favorite podcasts, and I don't know if this is just particular to Noah and what he likes, but he's got 6 different kids podcasts that he likes. Some are like detective shows, some are just stories. And so we make sure those are downloaded on the iPad and Spotify, so that he has those also available when we're on the go. Or oftentimes he'll do just audio stories in the morning. That's kind of our morning routine with breakfast, is he listens to a couple audio stories or kids podcasts. And so being able to do that on a trip or have access to it on the plane is also a really helpful thing. And because Noah does that now, June likes to do that too. So that's kind of the setup for us in the morning. If they're younger, in the toddler years where they maybe are doing naps, I bring a blanket and a mini pillow for them on the plane, and probably one of their stuffies, so that even if they don't take an actual nap, they have a place to cuddle up and maybe listen to their story, or if they're watching a movie, that just makes them a little bit cozier instead of them feeling totally dysregulated and screaming and, kicking and then wanting to sit on your lap, and just making them an actual cozy spot. I always also pack water bottles. We fill them up at the airport. So hydration is just a huge thing for adults and kids, and having water bottles with you wherever you go is just a family value that we have. Sounds kind of dorky to say it like that, but we always are carrying our water bottles at all times, just a reminder to drink them and to stay hydrated. I also bring those like mini bead kits, can be awesome. Play-Doh can be great, or window cling stickers. There's a lot of activities and games. There's even like activity books you can get that have like little Velcro things, and they can flip and do different activities if they're not really in the phase of doing screens or you don't want to do screens. For years, we did that. And now we are fully in the zone of the plane means movies. And my kids are so pumped about that. We don't do screen time normally in our day-to-day life. We do family movie night on Fridays. Other than that, unless it is some sort of special thing or they've worked hard for it on their chore charts as some type of reward, we don't really do shows. So that means for travel days, they are so excited, and movies really hold their attention for long amounts of time, which really helps us out on travel days. So they both now have an iPad. It does not belong to them. It's a mom's iPad and dad's iPad that we let them borrow just for the plane and for travel specifically. And so they love traveling because they get to watch movies. But that being said, I always have a few different activities in their little backpacks. When we get up in the air and the seatbelt sign comes off is when we let them turn on movies. So until that point, they're self-entertaining with games or coloring books or listening to an audio story or doing beads or something of that nature. Because I also think it's helpful for them to know how to entertain themselves, not just only with a screen. So that's just personal choice in what we do. When it comes to other logistical things, I already shared in the travel episode, like I am packing a lunch for everybody. It's in their backpacks. We also use that cooler bag for anything cold, specifically like cheese sticks or cut up veggies. so much more appealing when it's cold. So we definitely do that. And then I do pack like a little treat for them. It's usually a Yum Earth brand lollipop. They're kind of being shuffled around a lot on a travel day. And so with them getting to watch a movie and have like a lollipop, it's the peak of happiness and great. And just little things to sprinkle in to like keep it fun, keep it easy. There can be lots of logistics and just a different day. So trying to keep it fun as much as possible definitely helps. As far as gear that makes it easier, this is my favorite travel tip, and it doesn't sound world rocking, but for some reason it changes so much, is that we use a small carry-on bag, a roller suitcase that's like a smaller size, not huge. And that's what we bring on the plane. So everyone has their backpacks where they have their iPad, their coloring books, maybe a few snacks. But for all the food or for those extra blankets or the change of clothes, I always recommend bringing changes of underwear. If you're going from a cold to hot climate, a pair of shorts and underwear and, t-shirt, tank top for them to change into if they get hot at the airport. So all of that stuff going in the roller bag versus me trying to shove in all of the kids' toys into my carry-on bag. I have my laptop and I need stuff for me. So instead of shoving it all into mom's bag, they have their little backpacks, and then we take a roller suitcase that then has a bag of food. So all the sandwiches and all the fruit and whatever bars or popcorn or snacks or whatever else, we keep it in that bag. And then when we get on the plane, we kind of pick and choose, okay, what do we need now? What do we need out? We'll usually take the food bag out, see if there's any blankets we need to take out. But then for the most part, it just makes it so much easier getting through the airport with it. You're not lugging and schlepping tons of bags or heavy backpacks. You just want your hands to be free as much as possible. So that one I can thank my husband for. That is definitely our go-to of things that we want to have accessible, but just makes it so much easier to roll and then be able to put up above. It just has been a total game changer. So that is definitely how we travel now. Another tip on gear, if your kids are old enough, we do blow up car seats. These to me are also game changers, that you're not lugging around car seats everywhere you go. So there are inflatable, they're booster style seats. There's also a seat that's more like a harness that you can use on any seatbelt buckle. So if you're doing Ubers or traveling by car or renting a car, you can always rent a car seat with a rental car, of course, if you're going to be in one place and you're doing a car for the whole time. But oftentimes we are maybe going to a place and staying there, or we're taking Ubers around depending on the nature of the trip. And so inflatable booster seats are where it's at. It's like takes 3 or 4 breaths to puff up and then deflate. It makes things lighter and easier, and we put it in our gear bag. So we have like a big duffel bag. This is my last tip. A big duffel bag that we put the pack and play in, and then we also can put anything else we need, like pool floaties or these car seats or, the extra stuff like crafts or the activities for the kids, especially for going out to dinners that we want to have the, card games and the mini travel stuff. So we have a duffel bag. Instead of checking the pack and play, we put the pack and play in this duffel bag, and then we have room for a few other things. Another little tip that you can do is if you are bringing a car seat, let's say you're traveling with a baby and you need to bring their car seat specifically, putting things like extra diapers in that bag too, because that is a checked bag that's free. And oftentimes you can get away with putting snacks in there or extra diapers or some wipes in there. So it just frees you up a little bit more space. Those are all the main things that we do that make traveling just a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, and doing so in a way that also aligns with our values of eating real food, keeping them hydrated, giving them treats, of course, but intentionally, and having activities and things that they find comfort in, things that help them sleep better, things that help them relax better, so that we have more regulated kids, and especially so on a travel day when there's so many other factors at play and other things going on, like having them feel good and them feel comforted, taken care of, that they've got all that they need really helps them love travel. Our kids love traveling, and that makes it so much easier to do it as a family. We try to just make it fun for them and then also have things around that they're familiar with, so it's not a complete change in their daily routines. So I hope that this was helpful. And I would also love to hear if you have any other tips or ideas or things that you have found helpful traveling with kids. It obviously differs depending on their age and what stage that they're in, but specifically for the babies and toddlers, like I would just say, don't be afraid of doing it. It is totally possible to do. Sometimes it takes a little bit of planning ahead, but the result that comes from that is so magical, at least to us. Like, we really value that special time together. And there's very few ways to get that not traveling. So that's one of the reasons that we love it. I will always love taking them along to the things that we love in life, not just only having a life that revolves around only them and their activities and what they like to do, but also what we like to do as a family, what Kyle and I like to do as a couple, what we like to do before we had kids. It's really magical, I think, to show your kids the things that you love, because they oftentimes will develop just as equal of an appreciation for it because you love it, because the joy is there, because the fun is there, because it's something special to you. And being able to pass that on to your kids, I think, is just irreplaceable. I would love to hear if you have any more tips too. Come find me over at Simply Real Health on Instagram. If you want to send me a message, if you've got some ideas, I am happy to share them with everyone else too. Okay. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you back here next time.
If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.